Revo hubless bicycle, a rare futuristic e-bike.
Why would you want a hubless bike?
$7 million on Indiegogo before the company up and vanished, leaving everybody who ordered one without a bicycle or asking for a refund, except for the customer who bought this bicycle. He sold it to me on eBay at a loss after seemingly not riding it at all. From what I can find, of the 2,700 people who ordered.
So like, I feel like a motorized bicycle would be pretty easy, and I'm probably like completely uninformed on this, but you just take a couple gears, you take a motor, and you take like a bunch of batteries, like 18 650 batteries, and you just wire them up together. It can't be that difficult. I go to like stores and stuff and I see them for like $3,000. There's no way they have to be that expensive.
A Revo hubless bicycle, only about 150 actually got them delivered before everything fell apart. And if the things I'm reading about it are true, it might be the worst bicycle ever made. And today, I'm gonna ride it for the first time and find out. Clearly the thing looks insane. The wheel is just this big open hubless donut, but there's a reason.
Talk about redefining the wheel.
Most bicycles have hubs. It's really hard to do, and they had to make a lot of sacrifices to make the Revo hubless. And apparently, people were not very happy with it. It wasn't a very good bike. What went wrong with their Indiegogo campaign? Now, as you can see, they spared no expense on this promotional video. This guy uses the fingerprint scanner to secure his Revo at a cafe, only to get a tamper notification initiated by a woman admiring his Revo. They then make a bunch of claims about the bike, like how smooth it rides and how revolutionary the pedal assist is, and they ask you to join the revolution, and join they did. But that was almost 5 years ago. Today, the comment section's full of would-be customer evolution, and join they did. They then make a bunch of women admiring his Revo. They how revolutionary.
Look at how happy this guy is.
The pedal assist is, and they ask you to join the revolution, and join they did. But that was almost 5 years ago. Today, the comment section's full of would-be customers desperately trying to contact Revo. And if you visit Revo's social pages, it's just more of the same. But their website is truly damning, a GoDaddy parking page. That's an obituary.
So they just like deleted it.
Seen one. So what happened here? Well, let's get to know the Revo, and we'll find out. The motor is not on, and with great difficulty I am pedaling it. Can you believe how loud it is? The second you start pedaling this thing, you start noticing a lot of stuff.
Looks like a good workout.
Break it down. Let's start with the wheels, because I think that's a lot of where it's stemming from.
I don't think it was supposed to be.
Even e-bikes, they just roll, right? As soon as you stop pedaling, it just rolls on forever. It's like gliding. You just feel the resistance every step of the way on this thing, whether or not you're pedaling. Look at this.
Yeah, because it looks like they probably try to do like regenerative braking on the bike. So basically it like charges the battery while you're braking, so like extends the life of it. And I don't think it really works unless you have the weight of like a car. So I'm sure it works like a little bit, but this bike would probably be better with like very fat people.
I don't know if you've ever spun a normal bike wheel, but it's very much unlike that. A normal bike wheel has spokes, and then there's a hub in the middle, and that hub is extremely reliable. They haven't changed much in 100 years, and a modern hub you can restore to like new condition for $1. They just take these little bearings that you can pop in. This has, I don't know, a bearing the entire way around, and so there's a lot more resistance, and I suspect you can't service it because they don't sell parts for it. The company doesn't exist anymore, and it's not like you could rob some parts off another hubless wheel. And so let this sink in. The entire premise of the Revo hubless bicycle is that it lacks one of the most reliable moving parts ever made. Certainly one of the most reliable moving parts on a modern bicycle. And in its place, they replaced it with an unserviceable, heavy, complicated, and noisy hubless wheel. Yet, they're making the claim that this bicycle is revolutionary, that it's got a really smart pedal assist, and that it's really smooth.
What do you think the point of the hubless wheel is? You think it's just like a gimmick, or you think it's like a maybe like actually some sort of functionality? Maybe that's how they do the regenerative braking, like how they connect it. I don't know, maybe he'll like break it down
It's
later
really
in the video.
smooth. They even advertise its lightweight core. This is one of the heaviest bicycles I've ever picked up in my life. They say it's like 70 something pounds. I think it's heavier. Underneath this big plastic clamshell is likely just big solid pieces of aluminum and steel. Maybe we'll take it apart later and find that out. But we've got a lot to cover before then, because I haven't even registered the fingerprint scanner or any of the security features they have.
It's so stupid.
So I'm downloading the Revo app, which still exists, because this thing...
You know, I think what happened, it's like fingerprint scammers. Scanners. You could probably get them for pretty cheap, and they're like gimmicky and they feel like futuristic. So people like them. So if you put that on your equipment and you're like, we're gonna have a fingerprint scanner, they'll give you more money.
Has a whole bunch of features. For example, in here, it's supposed to have a SIM card slot so you can GPS track the thing. There is a built-in fingerprint scanner up here that secures the bike, and if you lock it with the fingerprint scanner, there's supposed to be a wheel lock back here that keeps the bike from going. And so I want to be able to use all that. It's asking me to register a new bike, and so let's see how that works. I think we might actually be able to get this app to work. 1111. All right, the instruction manual gave me a default pairing code. I'm using that. I'm looking on Reddit threads, and I can't get this thing paired. And so we're off to a great start. Now, normally I'd say this is no problem because most electric bicycles have a little display screen that tells you how much battery you have left, how fast you're going, what assist mode you're in. But on the Revo, because it's high tech, they want you to use your smartphone. Everybody loves that. And as you can see here, they give you some adhesive to attach your smartphone to the handlebars. So the phone's all mounted to the handlebars. We got the Revo app running. Let's start talking about how this thing actually functions as a bike. And one of the first things you're gonna notice when you start riding it after you've absorbed the noise and the terrible ride is how hard it is to stop. I'm gonna go a reasonable speed down this bridge, and I'm gonna start applying my brakes right here. Let's see.
Wait, it's hard to stop? But... what's the point of it being so hard to like get up and actually get it to go? Okay, so maybe it doesn't have regenerative brake? I don't know.
See how long it takes me to stop. That was a full-on emergency stop. I had both of my entire hands on the brake levers, gripping them as hard as I could, and it could barely stop the bike. That's really alarming. And given the weight of the bike and the airless tires and just all the sketchiness, it has no business going this fast with brakes like this. Brakes are effectively the most important safety feature on any bicycle, let alone an e-bike that weighs 70 pounds. That $200 bike I bought on Amazon had pretty decent brakes actually. They were cable actuated disc brakes. This doesn't have a hub, and so it can't have rotors, and so can't have disc brakes. So they're using cheap caliper brakes like you would find on, I don't know, a Mongoose bike from the early 1990s, except that bike is stopping a little kid going 5 miles an hour.
What, do bikes not like...
There's a speed bump.
So they got the fingerprint scanner, but they didn't get better brakes because advertising that you have like good brakes probably doesn't make a lot of money.
Oh my God, that took all my might. Ugh. Ugh. And so I've already mentioned several times that this is in fact an e-bike, and so let's talk about that. An e-bike is supposed to pedal like a normal bicycle and then also have electric assist, and so
let's get a USB charger.
It should do both. And as you can see, there's no chain or...
I wonder if that's for like charging the bike or if it's to like charge your phone while you're driving it. It looks like it's to charge your phone while you're driving it because it's right there.
Or sprockets or anything down here. The drivetrain's all inside it, and presumably everything that makes this wheel go kind of is enclosed in here, except on this thing, it is extremely difficult to pedal. Very inefficient, and then when you stop pedaling, it stops almost immediately. And so let's be honest, nobody's gonna be using this as an analog bicycle. You're gonna be using electric assist because
but does that stop charge the battery?
It's not even on the table, but it's a terrible e-bike too.
Hello, Sarah.
Okay, so we've been riding this as an e-bike for close to 30 seconds. I went over that bridge, there's like a little lip, like a bump. After I hit that bump, the back started making noises. Let's examine this and see if it's something that could ever be repaired. Yeah, listen to that. It's like there's a jump in the wheel. It's done. It's garbage. Right? Where am I going to get replacement parts for this thing? And all I did was ride down a bikeway and hit a little.
You want this
bump
bike?
on
It's
a
really
bridge.
great.
Now, where do we even go from here? How do you make it stop? It still goes, so let's keep discovering how bad it is. Guys, I had a whole video planned here. Like, I spent money on the bike and I was planning on selling it afterwards. Now it's broken. And then half the things I want to show you don't even work. It's so much worse than I thought. But it's not for lack of trying. They really tried to put a lot of good
So the
features on
electric
this.
part just
Let me show
doesn't
you some of
try?
them. You tell me whether...
It looks like somebody took the concept for a good electric bike, and they said, what are the parts that are like the most visible? And we'll put those on, and then everything else we'll just like not worry about. And then like they got a bunch of money, they crowdfunded it, they got like $6 million, and then they just like threw it in the trash.
This is something a bicycle needs. So check it out, the fingerprint scanner over here, you can move it left or right and it will actually put on signals. To their credit, it's good to have lighting on a bike. That's a good safety feature. Of course, you can't stop, so it doesn't really matter, but it does have signals and brake lights, and that's one of the unique things about these wheels. You can put stationary things on them because they're not spinning. So what do you think these little handle things are? These stay just
That's kind
like
of
this
cool.
when the bike is in motion. It's to carry a bag. They actually made a custom Revo bag, and it goes inside the wheel. That brings the center of gravity way down, and it's actually pretty freaking functional. And so if this was a good bike and I was able to ride it all the time, I would put some kind of big storage container in here. But of course, it breaks after you hit one bump, and so we can't do that. Now, I mentioned before the Revo has airless tires, which amount to just rubber wrapped around the wheel. But if it did have pneumatic tires, if they did take air and you had to change one, I don't think you'd have to take the bike apart at all. Look at this. The wheel on the front, it's just attached on one side and it's all open over here. You can access the entire tire, and they've done the same thing on the rear. It's open right over here. So
I
if this
really
was a
want to see them
normal
take it
bike,
apart.
you'd be able to air it down, use a tire lever, and just take the tire straight off. But I'm not really sure what we do here. So let me show you something on the other side
Yes.
of the bike. Oh, it's so heavy. Okay. The kickstand. So they call this an invisible kickstand because you flip it up and it just melds into the frame. You can't see it at all. Pretty cool styling, actually, but it's a terrible kickstand, I'm sorry to say. Now, it is pretty easy to flip down because you just push on the side of the frame and there it goes. But most kickstands, when you put the bike in motion, it goes up. This kickstand locks into place like this and kind of goes in reverse. So I find myself getting on the bike and trying to go, and then having the kickstand kind of bind up. But they actually made the wheel lock when the kickstand is engaged. So when the kickstand is up, this wheel can turn freely. When you put the kickstand down, it is locked. And I suppose that if you had the app, it would actually stay locked and not be able to flip up. I don't really know. While the engineers were testing the Revo, they must have realized how bad the ride was because they put a suspension seat post on it. Does almost nothing to make the ride better. Oh, I forgot this is all brick. But as you can see, the seat post has a little spring in it, and when you push down on it, it gives. Kind of sucks. There are actually pretty good suspension seat posts, like the Thud Buster. This is not that. This is as cheap a suspension seat post.
That's like the kind they have in like
now,
buses,
I did show you
but
before
like
this
way
cool
worse.
little phone mount because the Revo is supposed to operate with an app, and they thought of putting this USB port over here, which is of course powered by the battery that makes the bike go. That's actually a really smart feature. I wish more e-bikes had that, because if you have your phone mounted up here, be it horizontally or vertically, you might want to be able to charge it. I guess it would have been kind of nice if this was Type-C.
I don't know. I don't want to like... Well, I'm sure you could get like an adapter, but or probably not. Why would you want a Type-C? Type-C is not even that common. USB is still pretty big. Yeah, it's probably really, really heavy. I don't know. Why would you want to take your battery charge that's supposed to like get you where you go and use it to charge your phone? You need that to get to your destination.
But I mean, what are we really expecting at this point?
I don't
So
know. I don't
thinking,
know how much
that's
battery
one
these things
good
kind of
feature
hold,
the Revo.
especially with this.
And you can't ignore the styling. That's the Revo's killer feature, and to their credit,
I might be
they did
overthinking
a
it.
good job here. It's really striking. It's the most unique bike
Yeah, it looks
I've
cool.
ever reviewed, for sure.
And it has lights.
But I can't tell whether people are looking at me because of that or because it's so noisy. And so I'm gonna take it into town and park it in a couple of places, and we're gonna see what people's reactions are. All right, so we survived getting downtown. I'm walking it down the sidewalk, and I discovered something terrifying about this bike. So when you push it along,
It's like the regenerative braking that they have in like the Tesla is really, really loud. And I think I've said regenerative braking like 15 times, but like basically it charges the battery with the with like the kinetic energy of the bike stopping, I guess. And something about it makes it make like a lot of noise. So when you like stop a Tesla, it makes like a weird like whirring sound, and that's the only sound aside from the tires on the road that the Tesla really makes.
the pedals move because it's just not very mechanically sound. And so if you push it fast enough, the pedals actually engage the pedal assist, and it's a chain reaction. The bike keeps going. Watch this. Okay, so you're walking your bike and you kind of jog across the street a little bit.
Ooh.
And it kicks in. And so you might say, Seth, just turn it off. I can't turn it off. I tried holding down the power button on the battery, everything. The only way to do that is to take the battery out, but I need the keys to take it out, and I don't have the keys on me. So this thing is just a death.
So there are keys. But why is there a fingerprint reader?
Trap. Look at that. This happens to be the worst bicycle ever made.
Oh no!
I like the way it looks. The only thing I do is put me a big seat on that thing. I can't stand them seats.
You said a big seat.
Both on and off camera today, I've gotten a lot of reactions from people, and most people ask, how fast does it go? People who don't know bikes, they notice that it looks crazy, but they can't quite pinpoint what it is. They're just like, that's a crazy bike, how fast does it go? And so we must consider who ordered these. I don't think it was bicycling enthusiasts, it was people who saw it and said, that thing looks cool, that thing looks...
Yeah, I don't think bicycle enthusiasts really buy electric bikes. I think most of the time bicycle enthusiasts are like, I don't want to say like health nuts, but like people who care about like fitness a lot, and electric bikes are just to get you somewhere without having to abide by like, oh, I guess even like in the US you have to abide by road laws, so you can't even really say that.
Awesome, maybe that price tag is worth it. And yeah, we go back to the comments and we see what those customers think now. We got ripped off, this was a scam.
They're all trying to contact the guys.
Were they trying to scam people? I don't think so. So again, they ended up making this and it was delivered to some people, and most of the people who did get their Revo complained about it. They complained about the noise, they complained about all the things that I'm complaining about today. But to their credit, Revo tried to correct some of those issues. They made several batches of them and they kept trying to fix different things about them.
Yeah, well, I mean, like I said, it looks like a decent concept at surface value, but it kind of feels like it was designed to look like a decent concept to get people to invest into it, like crowdfunding.
And so I don't know what batch this is from, but the later your batch, the better the Revo. And so people are like, okay, the $6.7 million, they just ran away with that. I don't see how they could have done that because they actually produced the bike. And so there was engineering, there was tooling,
that is
order
true.
Fulfillment. And
They probably didn't make a whole lot of money. They might have actually gone bankrupt.
Management, because every single article about this thing is positive, and I don't see how that could be legitimate journalism. And so for people that are saying that this was a scam, this thing is positive. About this thing is positive.
Every single article about this thing is positive. Yeah, that's the first time that a journalist has said something that wasn't very good was good. Never before has that happened.
I don't see how that could be legitimate journalism. And so for people that are saying that this was a scam, that it was vaporware, that's just objectively not true. I think it was unethical. I think it was wildly irresponsible, but I don't think they were trying to scam people. I think they really thought that this was going to take off and be successful, even though it is the worst bicycle in the whole world.
I don't know about that. I'm sure there's worse.
So what this bike really seems like to me is a prototype that never made it out of the prototype phase. They just started manufacturing these prototypes and sending them out to people.
Like, this one's probably technically better than that, like, old... Let me see if I can find a picture of it. Hold on. Bicycle. It's probably better than, like, this thing. I don't know. I don't know.
This is what a product would look like from a legitimate company before it goes through 3 or 4 rounds of polishing to fix all the problems. And so if you were a fly on the wall behind the scenes, what you would probably see is them just rushing it out the door, just justifying it. It's not that bad. Yeah, it's got a really bad ride, but we put that suspension seat post on it, so it's good now. Runs like a prototype. It's as easy to find replacement parts for as a prototype. Look, if you sign into a crowdfunding site and you back something, you're taking a risk, especially if it's something as experimental as this.
Yeah, especially with, like, crowdfunding. It's like that, oh man, what was it? There was a story about it was a precision rifle. I'm trying to remember, it might have been a Lapua. But it was made by, like, 3 guys, and I could be wrong, but it was made by, like, 3 guys in, like, a shed. And they submitted it to some country. I don't know. I think it might have been England, actually, for as like a competition to find out, like, who was going to be their next big marksman rifle. And it won, so they had to rush to get, like, fake warehouses and stuff like that. But they probably succeeded with that because they had, like, a government contract. But this was, like, I mean, it was crowdfunding, and a bunch of stuff probably just went wrong, I guess.
But just disappearing and leaving all your backers in the dark, that's pretty unethical, that's pretty crappy. And so we can only hope that the makers of this bike rise from the ashes to sue me, because then they'll be revealing themselves to all their backers. And so is the Revo really the worst production bicycle ever made? Well, let's be objective and just go by what I've experienced today. It's loud, it's heavy. You can't turn it off, apparently. It has a terrible ride thanks to the airless tires. It's extremely difficult to pedal. You can't get replacement parts for it. The motor appears to kick on when...
Well, I mean, that's for everything that has a company that, like, shut down.
Whenever it feels like, and actually, if you push it fast enough, it starts a chain reaction that just sets the bicycle in perpetual motion. Actually, I wonder what happens if we just do that and let go of it.
Probably just falls.
Oh,
ooh.
no.
Yeah, probably just falls. And it broke. Did he say how much he paid for it? I don't think he did.
So I've spent a week now with the Revo, and it's the ultimate collector's bike. I'm not so sure I want to ghost ride this thing again. It looks insane, it's interesting, it has a story. There's a whole community of people trying to keep these things running, and it's got a whole bunch of Easter eggs, like this brown...
Yeah, it's like that, the car from Back to the Future.
Piece of tape over here. What do you suppose this is covering up? Well, you can see they color match this tape to the frame very poorly to cover up the company name. Beno, the parent company of Revo, and one could imagine that shortly after they made this mold, they realized that the project was going south and they wanted to distance their company name from it. Well,
Beno.
Here it is out to, I don't know how many people are gonna see this video. Crowdfunding projects are risky.
Hang on, I want to see that. It's interesting. I wonder if I'm just gonna get a bunch of, like, bicycle stuff. Is that what this guy makes?
These two mount.
Oh yeah, it's all bike stuff.